Alright, guys, what's going on? This is Aiden, Bandwagon Sports. We're gonna start new video. Got a face cam. It's just gonna be me talking for right now. Hopefully, I can get some videos. I'm gonna try to get some huddle film going so you guys can watch something, and I'll get some pictures of what I'm talking about. I'll put them up there. I'm working on getting something to edit with right now. I'm working on getting an editing software. I'm working on that. I'm looking up, doing what I can. If you hear background noise, it's a shower running. That's that. It's fine. Hopefully it's not too loud. I don't know. We're going to be starting a series on the podcast, so this should also go on the podcast. But right now, this is the YouTube video. This is going to be a series where I'm going through every single conference in college football, and I'm going to be giving my reasoning, my projection for how the team's going to do, and my reasoning for the games. I'm going to predict the record of the team from each conference, and this is in no particular order, but we're starting in the SEC. It's in no particular order of my favorite teams. It's not. It's really not. I'm just going in a random order. I'm just picking as a team comes up that I want to talk about. If you see me looking over here, it's because I got my schedules and I got all the things pulled up. So the first team we're going to be talking about is South Carolina. South Carolina had an outstanding 2022 season. I love their team. They had a great recruiting class. I love Shane Beamer. Great 2022 season. Lots of success and lots of returning production. Spencer Rattler, and a lot of their defense is coming back too, which is going to be nice. Nice for them to have during the schedule. It's going to be nice for them to have during this time. There's not a whole lot of teams in the ACC or in the SEC, and just in general, there's not a whole lot of teams in the country that can keep up with them. There's 133 FBS teams, and there's maybe like 20, 30 of them that can compete with South Carolina. It's just not a whole lot of teams can compete with South Carolina. South Carolina is going to be deadly and very scary this year. I'm predicting that. I'm calling it already. The first game on their schedule is North Carolina in the Duke's Mayo Classic Bowl. This is going to be a good game. I like North Carolina a lot. I enjoy their team. I enjoy watching their games. I think they're a very good team. However, SEC, big, physical, great football. UNC is not going to be able to keep up with that. I'm going 1-0 for South Carolina. They're going to beat UNC. It's in Charlotte. I actually might go to that game. That game sounds really fun to go to. The next game is against Furman. At home for South Carolina. It's Furman. Who really is Furman? Nobody cares about Furman. That's an easy chalked up dub for South Carolina. The next game, their third game, is against Georgia at Georgia. Last year, I would have seen if they would have gave Georgia a run for their money, because they were at home. They were on a losing streak. They did go 1-2 in their first 3 games, so they were at kind of a low spot. But they were at home. There wasn't a whole lot of energy though. If Georgia does not play like like everybody knows that we can play, like if they play like they did against Missouri last year, then South Carolina is going to run away with this game. South Carolina is going to have a field day with this game, because despite all of the stuff from last year that South Carolina did, nobody, and I mean nobody, is picking up on the fact that they are still scary and they are still deadly in football. They're still a good football team. They're still a really good program. They should not be taken lightly, especially not this year. There's no reason for that. because South Carolina is going to be a good team. So, with that being said, if Georgia lacks off, is lazy in that week, on that Saturday, if they're lazy, they're not going to win that game. There's no way. But if Georgia plays like we know Georgia can, and we know Georgia shows up for big games, and I expect this to be a big game in week 3, South Carolina is going to get a loss here, and I expect Georgia to show up and play in this game. So that's 2-1 for South Carolina. That's a lot better than what they started out last year. The next game is Mississippi State at home. Mississippi State, new coach, new everything, new offense, new systems. Mike Leach, rest in peace, great coach. I love him. But they're not going to have that same firepower that they did last year, and they're not going to have the same team that they did last year. I have South Carolina winning this one because, again, it's at Willie Bryce. It's the new coach, first-year coach, and I don't really know a whole lot about this Mississippi State team. I like them. I like them a lot. I love Will Rogers, but I don't see South Carolina doing too well in that game. Or I don't see South Carolina losing that game. My bad. I was jumping ahead there. The next week after that, week 5 at Tennessee. Tennessee dropped one to them last year. That, I mark my words, will not happen again within the next 3 years. Tennessee is going to be on a tear. Tennessee is an outstanding program. Josh Heupel, I love what he's doing up there. South Carolina's going to lose that game. That makes them 3-2. But I still believe at this point in the season they are going to be ranked, and they are going to be playing as some of their best football they have. That game, the Georgia game and the Tennessee game, both of those games will be competitive. It will not be a blowout. The only game out of those two that I can see being a blowout was Georgia, because there's just South Carolina's not going to let both of those games get out of hand. They're not going to let them get bad. South Carolina will hold themselves to a higher standard this year because of what they've been able to do last year, how they ended the season last year. It was incredible. I love it. But South Carolina's going to be ranked probably low 20s, maybe low teens. Going into the October 14th weekend, Florida at South Carolina. Again, Florida, I don't like Billy Napier. I don't like that program. Graham Mertz is not the coach, or is not the quarterback that I would want quarterbacking my team. They're not good. Florida is not good. They don't have a good coach, and they don't have a good quarterback. They don't have a proven quarterback. Graham Mertz started, what was it, Wisconsin last year? I think it was Wisconsin last year. But there's no Florida, no. The next week at Mizzou, tough place to play, and if South Carolina does not wake up for this game, then they are going to lose this game. If South Carolina does not wake up, I don't know what time it's at yet, but if they don't wake up and get ready for this game, then this is a very easy game for them to lose. And it would be their fault that they lost, not that Missouri outplayed them, but turnovers, doing stupid things, stuff like that. That's what is going to kill South Carolina. The next week at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, hopefully with the coaches they have, Jimbo Fisher, he's great. Hopefully they give that number 1 recruiting class some time to develop. Hopefully those players develop. I know a lot of them left, but hopefully they've developed, and hopefully they're getting better. But I don't see South Carolina losing this game, especially if they beat Missouri, or if they lose to Missouri. Sorry. Especially if they lose to Missouri, they are not going to lose that Texas A&M game. They're not. It's not happening. It really just won't. So I have South Carolina right now at 6-2. Through the first 8 games, we have 4 left. The next two, I mean, come on, they're both at home. Jackson State, who, like, I I want South Carolina to lose more games, and I think they will lose more games, but I just can't. I can't put it. I can't make Jackson. I can't say Jackson State's gonna win that game. It it's at home. The crowd is gonna be rocking for a top 25 team. Probably at this point will be a top 15 team. They're a great South Carolina's a great program. Like I've said many times before, there's no way that they lose to Jackson State. And then the following week, again at home, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a nobody. They're a baseball school. You can fight me. Say what you want about last season. Fight me. Baseball school. Okay. There's it. Not a good program. Not a good football program. And then the next week, Kentucky. Kentucky is a team that beat them last year. Yes, they were in Kentucky, Kroger Field, hard place to play. Not very hard, but pretty hard. But Kentucky was a sneaky team that was able to beat them last year. I was very surprised about that game because South Carolina was on a hot streak. They hadn't lost since week, like, I don't know. No, that was their first loss since Georgia. That was their third loss of the season, and that was their first loss since Georgia, which again was in week 3 or week 4. I mean, South Carolina, they're going to be a top 15 team by this point in the season. They will be. Williams-Brice Stadium is going to be rocking. There's not going to be... It's going to be like at least 100 decibels up in there. There's no way it's not. South Carolina is going to be... They are going on a tear in this last half of the season, beating Kentucky to put them at 9-2 going into their rivalry week against Clemson. You saw it last year. Clemson dropped the game at home. What are you gonna do? I mean, Clemson just did not play their best football, and they did not it just wasn't. It wasn't a good mix. It was a good amount South Carolina crowd. Lots of South Carolina fans. It was an upset alert game that they had been. It was had been an upset alert, and it's just, I don't know. I can't see South Carolina losing this game, especially because at Williams-Brice, they're going to be a top 15, top 10 team at this point in the season, going into week, 14? There's no way they lose that game. It's just not possible. South Carolina, 10-2, gets them into a solid spot in the college football realm. That's going to be a top 10 team. There's no way. I don't think there's no way South Carolina. Once South Carolina stops being like the old South Carolina, dropping easy games, just doing all that stuff. Once that happens, they are going to be an outstanding program, and there is not going to be a whole lot of teams who can compete with them. I think they're going to go on. They're not going to make the SEC championship. That's not going to happen. But they are going to compete in most likely a New Year's Six bowl game because they're going to be a top 10 team. There's no way they're not. They're going to be like a Penn State or who else? Like a Utah. Not competing for conference championships, but playing in New Year's Six bowls and winning New Year's Six bowls. That's what South Carolina is going to be, and I'm excited for them. I'm excited to watch all of their games this year. It's going to be really fun to see what Spencer Rattler and what Shane Beamer can do, what they can put together this coming year in college football. Let me know what SEC team you guys want to hear from next or hear about next. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below on this. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.